How easy would it be if you knew exactly what your end consumer, potential customer, target audience, if you knew exactly what they wanted? How much time or even money would you save, from not having to do any of the guesswork? In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to use surveys to help you craft an amazing buyer persona. Alright, so why have surveys to begin with? Easy, because you're getting the answer straight from the horse's mouth. You're practically removing the guesswork, because if you survey enough people, you start noticing a pattern, and you can use what they share with you as part of the copy, as part of the sales, and ultimately, and more importantly, a way to improve your product. Because if your product sucks, there's no amount of marketing or sales that's going to save it. Okay, it comes back down to having a deep understanding of the end consumer, and this is perfect for small businesses, SaaS products, physical products, okay, or even personal brands, because ultimately people are going to experience you in a type of way, and you want to do your best to make sure that it's a good one. Alright, so you can start creating your surveys using Airtable, Google Docs, or Google Forms, whatever it's called, or even SurveyMonkey. And when you start creating these questions for your potential customers, you want to start off with really easy questions first that get them in the mindset of answering questions. So name, email, birthday, location, all that simple good stuff that help get the ball rolling. And then you start moving into much more relevant questions. What are the biggest challenges with X, with hiking or staying hydrated or with weight loss? Whatever is relevant in your space, whatever the most important question is that you need to know. Okay, other questions are, what other companies have you worked with, other products that you've tried? And if you're trying to find a price point because you're starting out and you don't know where to start, ask. We've worked with a handful of clients and have added that question to help us find a nice price point that worked for everyone. Okay, so ask, how much would you be willing to pay for this product? Okay, there's no harm in asking, especially you want to remove the guesswork. Okay, and then continue adding any relevant questions that you believe will help you, and make sure they're open-ended and not leading in any way, not leading towards any sort of bias. Okay, and then the last question that I always ask is the phone number, or at least a Skype. Alright, so the next part is analyzing the responses. This is where things get really hand-to-hand and get a little bit technical, so we're going to hop onto the screen for this one. Alright, what's going on, everyone? This is Emeroy from 2019. Editing some content from late 2018, and everything with the whole buyer persona stuff. I was just actually in the process of editing all this, and I'm realizing a lot of the buyer's persona analysis is kind of confusing, so I'm here actually filming again, which is why I have short hair. It's less of a beard, but hope that doesn't throw you guys off. Anyways, we're gonna go right on to analyzing the buyer persona on my end. So anyways, let's hop onto the screen. Alright, so let's put on the big headphones, so the Camtasia can also sync up nice and well when I actually put this in post. So, alright, so this is all responses and data from a survey that I ran a long time ago in research for an app I'm developing. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of data here, so let's get right onto it. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. I've hidden the names, the emails, the Skypes. Actually, they didn't provide the Skypes here, but just to hide, to prevent sharing confidential data. So there's a lot of stuff over here, and I realized in the previous filmed version of this is a little confusing, so I want to go over through the overview a little bit more, what the purpose of each column is, and then alright, so the first one, SMOQ, is the single most important question. So once you get them warmed up to answering their name, their email, whatever helps start creating that yes ladder or starts getting people in the mood to answering questions, the first question that you want to ask them is your single most important question. What's the main thing that you're trying to solve for them? So, and this is essentially what it is, because all this information here is stuff that will help you with creating your product, with your copy, with your ads. Everything here is essentially, as I said, just you're getting the answer straight from the horse's mouth. And this starts letting you speak to them in their language, the way they're saying things. It's almost like different languages have different inside jokes, and it only makes sense if you're able to understand the language or speak the language. So it's the same thing here. It helps to understand what your end consumer is trying to say, or it helps to know how they're saying it, so that way you can speak their language. The next thing is length. So what we do here is we get the length, we get the amount of characters for each response, so we can see how long for each one is, because this helps create the length multiplier. The length multiplier is, at the time of when we made this survey, Twitter was only 140 characters. So if it was less than 140 characters, we would multiply it by 1. But if it was more than 140 characters, we would multiply it by 1.5. So as you can see here, a lot of people wrote more than 140 characters, which was, a good sign for this, a good sign for the beginning. All right, so the next thing we would do is create the length score, which is essentially multiplying these two, the length versus length multiplier, and then you would get an idea. And then this number is the length score is going to help contribute into the total score, and which contributes to how hyper responsive they are. So there's a lot of stuff that we took into consideration here. All right, so the next column is age. I added this column a little late when I updated everything, which is why you only see one response. But this is perfect for when you start running ads. You can start targeting a specific group of people, a specific demographic. And one thing I want you to remember is you're using this buyer persona to help you craft the perfect person that you're trying to sell it for. So if you see the pattern here is, say, for 30 to 34, that's who you're going to try to target all this to, because they're the ones who are most likely going to be the hyper responsive. So AMT, which is just an abbreviation for amount. So this is just me asking how many dancers they're working with. At this point, this is just more like getting information for the app that we're trying to develop, seeing how many people, what's the average that people are working with. And I think the average we came to is like between 20 and 30. And then the next questions, if they're doing all the formations. This is a formation app trying to help dancers help stage their routines and competition routines faster, and we wanted to know if they were doing most of the work, because if they weren't, they probably weren't the people we were looking for, but their directors are. Okay, so the next column is cost. So this is we didn't know how much to price this, and like I said earlier in this video, there's nothing wrong with asking how much people are willing to pay, because it's one thing to debate between like, oh, should I sell it for $9? Should I sell it for $49, $99? But it's different when you actually get feedback from other people, and that's not to say to like lower your value, but this helps give you an idea of where people are at in terms of like what they're willing to pay for it. And then from here we kind of averaged it out where like we think people will probably pay for this for about $5. This helped us create the cost multiplier. So for this, anything that was under $4 would get a multiplier of 1. Anything over $5 would get a multiplier of 1.5, which would create the cost score. Okay, excuse me, don't mind the dollar signs. I didn't format this properly. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not an Excel expert, but this helped us get a long way. So next thing is the total score. The total score is essentially the length score multiplied by the cost score, which would give us the total score. And then from here we averaged it out what the average score was between all of it, and we created a little if statement. If their score is less than 7,800, it would be multiplied by 0. If it was over, it would be multiplied by 1. So these would be like the super high hyper responsive responses. So the next thing was we would start looking for the categories and then creating common themes. So each response sometimes had more than one category. So this one was in particular talking about transition, so they only had one category. So this one had talked about it a little bit more. So creativity, transitions, absence, and dropouts within their answer. So we created that category. So we essentially just typed in whatever category that they had in mind. So once we figure out all the different categories that everyone's talking about, we start putting things in common themes. So transitions was the most common one, creativity was the next one, and then everything just seemed just irrelevant. So what this tells us in terms of writing the copy or even developing the app itself is these are the things that we want to point on using the copy to persuade people and to get their attention, to not to just be aware of the app, but to also get it. All right, so that's it, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of analyzing your survey data into using it for copywriting, using it for your advertising, finding out who's the most hyper responsive, finding out the different categories and the different themes. This is one of the reasons I love using surveys, because like I said, if you watched any of the previous buyer persona videos, the surveys are going to help finesse your buyer persona. I think this is, even though you can start here in terms of surveying people right off the bat, I think if you start off with the first step using our buyer persona walkthrough, getting an initial rough draft, then using keyword researches to get an idea of what they're searching, what they're looking for, getting an idea of their verbiage of what they're saying via Google keywords or on social media, and then going directly to the horse's mouth and further finessing and refining that buyer persona. This is like, I think, a three-stepped or three-headed approach in creating a very, 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 very good buyer persona. If you guys got any questions, let me know. I'm actually gonna leave you guys an example, a copy of this Google sheet, because I know the formulas and all that stuff you can't exactly get off the video. So I'll leave a link or a PDF link that goes straight to this, just an example just for you guys to look through. All the information, all the private information will be taken out, but you can use it as a study. And if you guys got even other tips and other things that you want to share with me, feel free to let me know, because even though I've been doing this for a long time, I still consider myself a student and I want to continue learning. And I'm a firm believer of the saying of each one teach one. So while I'm teaching you guys, you can equally teach me, you can teach everyone else, which is kind of one of the reasons I'm doing this. All right, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Vision Paradox TV of using surveys to create your buyer persona and analyzing it. That part was a little techie and a little crazy, but I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you guys got questions, comments, feel free to leave it down below. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.